Alrighty, welcome back to East to West Coast Sports. We are touching on Joel Embiid, and did he secure the MVP with that performance against Boston just a few days ago? Let's touch on Embiid here really quick. What makes him so unguardable? I was listening to the volume. His mid-range has become so automatic that unless you push up right up against him, his free throw line jumper or in that area, that 15-footer, is going to be automatic to the point where if you don't crowd him, he'll make it. And if you do crowd him, he's going to rip and drive to the rim. And at that point, once he gets a little bit of head of steam, it's game over. You know, he's going to get fouled or he's going to make a layup or a dunk, whatever. Aesthetically, it's not the most fun to watch, but it is effective. And Joel Embiid, like a lot of, big guys before him, he brings the dominance. And, what made Shaq, what made, Olajuwon, or what made, whoever, those big guys just unguardable. They were so impactful with their physicality in the game. And that's what Joel is doing. Obviously Jokic, his overall game is incredible. He's an amazing passer. He's a pretty good offensive player. His three-point shot's okay, but his little mid-range hook, he can go off either shoulder, and he steps off the wrong foot sometimes too. Just makes it tough to guard. He's a very efficient scorer, but Joel Embiid takes that sort of to the next level. And I think Joel Embiid just has a little bit more in the bag offensively compared to Jokic. The one thing that I will say, I heard this take on Twitter, was Joel Embiid's defensive numbers are definitely a little bit inflated because he plays in the East. Jokic plays in the West, where a lot of just the best guards are currently, and he's going to get cooked by guards just like Joel Embiid would have had if he would have played in the West as well. Watching the couple games recently, the Warriors versus Sixers and Boston versus Sixers, nothing about Joel Embiid outside of the restricted area rim protection screams elite defender like Giannis. I don't know if there's anyone like Giannis ever now or before, but to me, Joel Embiid's numbers look a little bit better just because he does play in the East. That's one thing just taking into consideration. The other thing here that I want to note too is I do think there's a little bit of voter fatigue against Jokic, winning back-to-back, now potentially his third. I think that's going to play a little bit bigger of a factor than more people are letting on. And Joel Embiid as a candidate, he's been a runner-up. I think as a candidate, you can't discredit him winning the MVP because Jokic is so deserving. I don't think that's the case. I think Embiid is just as deserving, and I think he'll get the slight nod because he is because Jokic has back-to-back already, and they don't want to give him the third. Last thing I want to note here on Embiid is he is a really willing passer, and I think that's important in today's game where you have guys like Luka who great passer, but when times get tough, he tries to force the issue, whereas Embiid, I think, recognizes that, hey, if I'm getting double teamed, that means one of my teammates is open. Let me kick it to him. Whether his teammate makes it or not, I think the Sixers have probably a few more shooters than the Mavs do, but it just sort of helps facilitate team basketball, whereas Luka is ball dominant, he's ball on, and he's going to be taking the most shots, whereas Embiid is not ball dominant. While he does take the most shots, you have Harden and you have Maxey, you have other players who you trust with the ball, and Embiid really is just there to get buckets essentially. So I think this game, he had 52, beat Boston. I think this game sort of seals it for him, and I think we're going to see a new MVP, and I think it's going to be Joel Embiid. All right, guys, appreciate it.